Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. Several of you have asked for me to look into the story of the frozen man found by his father and later brought back to life out of Pennsylvania. This story just came out January 18th this year in the mainstream. It supposedly took place last February 2015. So we're hearing about the story a year after the fact. And there's a reason we're hearing about it a year after the fact. It's easier for the media to bury their lies this way. I assure you up front this story is propaganda, a hoax, contrived, not true. We'll break it all down. I will show you that it is no doubt a riddled lie. But let's first begin with the mainstream coverage. Let's just watch how the news propaganda deceives the masses. Here we go.
Is where Justin Smith's father, frozen nearly solid in a snowbank on Tresco Road here in Carbon County, is where Justin Smith's father found him nearly 1 year ago.
I threw the car in the park and I ran to him. I thought, oh my God. He was blue, his face, he was lifeless. I checked for a pulse, I checked for a heartbeat, there was nothing.
I ended up trying to walk home in a storm, and honestly, the last thing I can remember was waking up 30 days later with my family all around me.
The coroner was already on scene when Justin was found in the snowbank, but Dr. Gerald Coleman at Lehigh Valley Hospital in Hazleton said he didn't want to give up just yet and would not pronounce him dead cold.
Initially, they were almost questioning me, like, are you kidding me?
We have very low temperature. It can preserve the brain and other organ functions.
Teams of nurses and staff did CPR on Justin for 2 hours, while Dr. Coleman got approval to try to warm his blood up using an ECMO machine.
He held my hand that day and says, I'm going to throw everything I have, including the kitchen sink, at your son.
We knew we needed a big miracle.
And that's exactly what happened. Justin was flown to the Cedar Crest campus in Allentown, and as he warmed up, his heart started. Justin woke up amazed.
No, I've never even heard anything like this. It's amazing. It's something I've never heard of, and I can't thank everyone enough.
When you looked at the science of what had happened to Justin, it was really hard to imagine that anyone on Earth could survive this.
Now Justin is missing his toes, pinkies, but he's back to school, back to golf. He's what doctors are calling a medical miracle.
This kind of just renewed the faith of why I do what I do every day.
So there was the nice mainstream story. Too bad it's another contrived lie, more propaganda. And propaganda that ties into a very powerful propaganda company. Disney, the motion picture company, the mega corporation that owns so much, from food to toys to news. So anyhow, let's go through this detail by detail. What stood out right away to me was that his name was Justin. I know that Frozen in Pythagorean gematria sums to 39, and Justin in simple English gematria sums to 93. Justin's the name of the man who was supposedly frozen and brought back to life. Frozen in simple English gematria also sums to 84, like United States of America. Anyhow, they said his body was found in Carbon County, CC, emphasis on C, the third letter, CC 33, and on Tresco Road. Tresco has gematria of 33, and with the S exception, 42. Talk about what 42 has to do with Walt Disney and his daughter's death in just a moment. Remember, the word Freemason, the small way, equals 42. They said that Justin Smith was 26 years old, the God number, very special number often paired with 33, something I've exposed since my very first video. You're now watching video number 1,000 and something. In more than half of those videos, I've talked about 26 and 33. They show up all the time in media reporting. The name Justin, again, has gematria of 93. So does the word propaganda. This is a propaganda story. They said the father's name was Dawn, a name with 33 gematria, 93 and 33. Numbers that also often show up together. Think about on September 11th, it was flight 93 of 33 passengers crashing in the Keystone State. Keystone has gematria of 33. This story is also out of the Keystone State, Pennsylvania. And we'll talk about what that has to do with the movie Frozen in just a moment. Smith's name was 69 gematria in simple English. Add their names together. Don Smith equals 126. Justin Smith equals 162. 126 is a number with a lot of special meanings. If you go to the Writing the Beast website, which I have linked here in this blog post, it talks about all the connections to Satanism in the number 126. But just notice the similar numerology of the father and son's names. No doubt character names made up for this story. You know? Why didn't we hear about this story a year ago? This miracle story they waited a year to tell us? The name Smith in Pythagorean gematria sums to 24 and 33, yet another 33 in the story. Justin Smith in Pythagorean gematria sums to 45 and 54. 54 and 93 are numbers that often show up together. Again, Justin equals 93. Again, if you go through my videos, you see how often these numbers come together. And I can't tell you what the full meaning of 54 and 93 being paired together is, but what I can tell you is there's a religion called Thelema where they worship the number 93. And a very important word in that religion is love, which has a gematria of 54. So 54 and 93. Here on Earth, they tell us the sun is 93 million miles away. Sun, S-U-N, has gematria of 54 as well. These numbers, again, show up together a lot. As for this happening in Pennsylvania, this is where the movie connection comes to Frozen. Pennsylvania and Pythagorean gematria sums to 53. The movie Frozen was Disney's 53rd animated film. If you've never seen the movie, the main character is Elsa. Elsa in gematria breaks down to 5 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1. Notice how it begins with 5, 3. Main character in Disney's 53rd animated film. And have you ever heard the name Elsa before? Also, as many people are aware, Disney loves to code 311 and 113 into their movies. So do Pixar and other major motion picture studios. Notice the 311 coding within the name Elsa. If you're new here, the way this works is E's the fifth letter, L's the 12th, but 1 plus 2 for 12 becomes 3. S is the 19th, 1 plus 9 becomes 10. 1 plus 0 becomes 1. A's the first. Break it all down to a single digit. 5311, Elsa. The villain in that movie is the Snow Queen, which has gematria of 58 and 67, just like Freemasonry. Disney, a very Masonic company. Walt Disney's only daughter was born in the year 1933. Her name was Diane, a name with 33 gematria. The mother's name is Lillian, another name with 33 gematria. I have videos on the deaths of Diane and her mother and Walt. Please check that out. They all died by very interesting numbers. Anyhow, Diane Disney, Walt's only daughter, died on the premiere of Frozen. She died November 19th, 2013. 10 years to the day of the movie National Treasure coming out about the Freemasons and Knights Templar. Knights Templar established in the year 1119. Disney released their movie November 19th, 2003 about Knights Templar. Frozen premiered a decade later on that date. The date Diane Disney supposedly died on a hike. Diane Disney was born December 18th, 1933. A date with a life lesson number of 46, which is the number of sacrifice. She would end up dying, again, in very suspicious fashion on the day Frozen premiered. And I'll show you what else is interesting about the day she died on in light of her father, Walt Disney. The day she died was a date with 63 numerology, 36, and 18. 18 factors into 6 plus 6 plus 6. The life lesson number for that date was 36. When you sum 1 through 36, it totals 666. And 63 is another way to represent 6 3 times. Many people have documented how the signature for Walt Disney that they show at the beginning of each film has the number 666 coded into it. We can look at that at the end. Anyhow, the name Walt Disney has gematria of 42. Again, Freemason equals 42. The day that Diane Disney died on, November 19th, is the day that leaves 42 days left in the year. With her dying on the date of the premiere of Frozen, think about the rumor that Walt Disney's body is frozen, being preserved. Many people have heard that rumor, a very old rumor, and very possibly true. Walt Disney died December 15th, 1966, 3 days before his daughter's 33rd birthday. He died on a date with 31 numerology, Disney equals 31. And his full name, Walter Elias Disney, has gematria of 93, like Justin, like the reflection of Frozen. Very interesting. The father again, Don Smith. The day before this story came out, I did a video talking about Ben Carson, how he's a Freemason, how he worked at a hospital established by members of Skull and Bones, the Masonic Order, and I talked about how so many hospitals throughout this nation are controlled by Freemasons, which is how in the first place they can put on a propaganda story like this using doctors from the hospital, because these are Masonic doctors willing to contribute to conspiracy, willing to sell out the public with lies, and they do it all probably for their own fame and well-being, you know? Greed, selfishness, deceit. In the story, they said he'd survived negative 4-degree temperatures overnight. Notice that Mason and negative 4 have gematria of 62. Overnight has gematria of 118, just like death. And this story came out January 18th in the mainstream media. No coincidence. It's a story about evading death. Supposedly happened at Lehigh Valley Hospital in Allentown, Pennsylvania. In ABC's reporting, they interviewed the mother, whose name is supposedly Sissy Smith. Talk about actor names, actress names. Sissy Smith in gematria has a connection to 61. And if you go around the web and search for what people are writing in chat rooms, in comment boards, everyone's talking about God in miracle. 61, the God number in Jewish gematria. 26 is the God number in simple English gematria, like Justin's age. Miracle equals 61. Church equals 61. Take me to church in Pythagorean gematria sums to 61. Think about that song that they played on the radio forever. Sissy Smith. And as we heard Justin Smith say in the news interview, he'd never heard a story like this before because there hasn't been one. And there probably really never has been one except for this contrived story by the numbers. And you know, this propaganda, it serves a lot of purposes. It confuses, it gives people something to talk about, it makes them, forget about things they probably should be focusing on. And in a subtle way, it probably even helps Disney sell more copies of Frozen, How many little girls in this nation are obsessed with that movie? How many girls for Halloween dressed up as Elsa? I've never seen any Disney movie dominate the mainstream in the way Frozen have. It's really interesting. Frozen. Here we get a reminder of it through a propagandist news story. So, learn this language of gematria, and you will see through these stories in record time. And there's a reason it's CC33 on all of it, and they want to put it before your eyes. One last point with regards to Disney. Disney's in Anaheim. Anaheim has gematria of 33. It's in the 33rd parallel, Anaheim, California. It's also in Orange County. Orange, the only color with gematria of 33. And also, Disney's first ever movie in history was released December 21st. 12 plus 21, 33. No coincidence. The number of Masonic obsession. Until next time, truth seekers.